right, our hero highlight today is going to be Mike McQuillen. Um, he just sent this picture over to me. Mike, would you like to take a minute or two to tell us about your experience in the service?
Sure, it's if you don't mind me saying it's McQuillen, but yeah, I joined the Marines
Oh,
in
sorry, I
1996.
spelled it wrong. Sorry.
That's okay. I live in a country where nobody can spell my first name or pronounce my last name, and that includes my wife. So let's see. It says the besides being the 1988 Schwarting Elementary School spelling bee champion, I was also a Marine from 1996 to 2000. If you served in the Marines, I was the last company on Paris Island not to do the Crucible. So it's right in that sweet spot. After Paris Island, I was trained at the Defense Information School, Public Affairs. Now, if we were in a tavern a few hours from now, I'd rather tell everybody I was infantry, I was this and that, machine guns. But you know what? Professionally speaking, public affairs, this is what led me to where I am now. Because is this my actual time, or is this just me introducing myself first?
Oh no, this was just this was a minute or two.
Okay, I see the 15-minute countdown. Oh,
Yeah, we'll start that
I
over.
had fireworks for my opening. Okay, so that said, yeah, 96 to 2000. I was trained at the Defense Information School, Fort Meade, Maryland. That's where our Vice President J.D. Vance he trained. We field dayed and we scrubbed the same tile floors in the men's room and PT'd on the same basketball court. I spent most of my time in the California desert in Barstow. And again, I'd rather say I was in the Fleet Marine Force. I'd rather say I fought the good fight. But my job is to tell the backstory and how things work behind the scenes. And in DINFOS, Defense Information School, I got a Hagerstown story for you there, Denise. 4th of July weekend. We were, the truck broke down in Martinsburg, West Virginia. And anyway, so it was that same route on 81. But I learned while I was at DINFOS, when I wasn't escaping to Hagerstown for 4th of July weekend, that anybody can write about a train wreck. Anybody can tell a story that is sensational, where your life was in jeopardy. Anybody can tell a story where you overcame some terrible illness. Anybody can tell a story about climbing a mountain with no legs. But it takes real talent to take the day-to-day living that we all experience and make it meaningful, because that's what produces who we are. And good storytelling and good journalism comes from making what seems ordinary and making it extraordinary. That's what your audience wants. That's what your clients want. That they think their life doesn't have much going, but you show through your stories that they are living an extraordinary life, even if they're not getting the attention they want. I never thought that would be my takeaway from serving in the Marines, but it is. And it's great to get together with a veterans community. So I live abroad, I live in Peru, and just to know that I'm still wanted in those United States, if not sought after, if not wanted. And also that the veteran community is still there for life. So I do, hey, and my name is spelled correctly. I filibuster just long enough. Thank
I'm
you
qu-
very much. Thank you for that, Angela. And I look forward to going in deeper.
yeah,
Oh,
so
now I
today
get the EN. Oh no.
we are oh see uh,
At least
coordinate which way there is. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing so you can share your screen. But
okay.
Santa Papa John, if you could put him like see 13 minutes. Can you do no do 15? Do 15. If you can wrap up any earlier, great. If not, but that includes Q&A.
Of course. Well, my
So
job is to stimulate some good
oh,
Q&A.
do you need to share screen?
Not I will, but not immediately.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, here's my 15 minutes. Cool. Martinsburg was 15 minutes away. I never thought I'd get out of there. Well, that is a story. Now, as much as I'd love to tell you my Martinsburg story and getting stranded at Sleepy Creek Campground, my girlfriend that I was with at the time, she's long out of my life, and I'm thankful for that. Okay, questions coming up in the chat we'll take care of. But really, you can see behind me what I do. But as a speaking coach, I ought to say something, right? You started your own business, most likely because something went terribly wrong in your professional life, maybe even your personal life, where getting a job and going to work no longer an option. The salary benefits, paid vacation, fully stocked vending machine at the office. Not anymore. The only option you had left was to jump out of the airplane and figure out how the parachute works on the way down. And that is the life of a solopreneur. Now, here's my question for you. Do you think that story has value for an audience beyond entertainment value, beyond just inspiration and motivation saying, I did it and you can do it too, but in actually promoting your business, making your brand and your business and your product and service more marketable? I would certainly hope so, or else this talk wouldn't do much. Yes, your story is valuable to promote your business if you do it the right way. And that's what we're going to do today, to find first off, to choose the right story that matters, because your personal backstory is not the same as your business backstory. How to choose the right story, also how to tell it properly by sequencing conflict. Because a story without a conflict is only a circumstance. And also the most important is where in your presentation to put that story. I'll pause for a few seconds to let you think about, how did you get into this? What got you started? Now, I'm not going to ask you to put in the chat right away, and there's a reason for it. A lot of people lead off their presentation with one of two sentences that I don't need to hear ever again. One is, let me tell you a little something about myself. Everything you say is a little something about yourself. Your tone of voice, just the fact that you're present, is a little something about yourself. But your story is something you want to build to by giving value first, and then you build up that interest in who is this person? What's up with that background? I need to know more. Once you build up the interest, then you've earned it. You've earned the right to tell that story in a way that transitions. The most important thing about your story, think about whatever got you to do what you do. There has to be some kind of conflict. And the conflict that you solve in your stories has got to be the same conflict you solve for your audience and for your clients. So whatever problem you solve in your business, your story is one where you experienced the same problem. You took a long time to solve that problem, so now you're here to solve it. So if your story is, well, I went broke and I lost everything, and so now I started this direct mailing business, and now I'm rich. Well, how is that going to help the client? The fact that you're getting rich off of their money. So that in itself is not the story. The story has got to be the conflict you solve in your story is that conflict you solve for somebody else. Another thing you need to know is that somewhere along this journey, you had to learn something. And here's one sentence you can write down. I'm going to put up a slide that says this later, but I like to talk first and reinforce with slides. You can be the hero of your story. You can be the one who experiences the happy ending. You can be the hero. You cannot be the guru. Meaning if your story is, and then I figured it out. Well, if you figured it out, what's the big deal? Why is this such a big story? I'll give you an example. I live in Peru, and we've got some really good avocados here. If you shop in the States, those little Mexican pine cones you call avocados, you have no idea. We've got the good stuff. So if it involves 2 ingredients or less, I'm pretty good at preparing something to eat, right? So I make some pretty good guacamole. I used to take the avocado, mush it up, and mix in the onion, and then squeeze the lemon over the top of it. And the consistency wasn't the same. Then one day I figured it out. Slice the onion first, squeeze the lemon over the onion, then dice up the onion, mix it in with the avocado. And what that does is you get the flavor of the lemon-soaked onion, but you don't disrupt the consistency of the avocado. In other words, I figured it out all by myself. Did you just learn something? You learned about making guacamole, but is that a life lesson? Are you going to take that through is that going to, Probably not. And maybe it's a metaphor for life, but not really. In your story, somebody has got to teach you. So your audience is going to see that learning process along with the lesson that they learn that you give them. You're going to see your learning process as well. So choose a story where the conflict is appropriate to what you do in business, and also make sure that how you learn that lesson is there. Okay, that's what story to choose. But the most important thing you need to know is how to sequence something called conflict. And it's real simple. Again, you can write this down. You're going to see a slide for it, but I'm going to say it now. Write it down, reinforce with slides. Conflict, more conflict, your conflict. Conflict, more conflict, your conflict. I'll give you an example. Think of a really popular movie, like really popular. Everybody around the world, all generations, you're alive today, you're familiar with the movie. Let's see. I'll give you a clue. Oh no! You can play along here. Okay, a boat crashes into an
Is it
iceberg.
Moby Dick? Oh, Titanic.
Thank you very much. Good God. All right, yes, Titanic. What is the conflict in Titanic? Sorry, but people usually get that one faster. Come on now.
The boat ship sinks.
Yeah. Now first the boat hits the iceberg.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the initial conflict. Although if they just, oops, we hit an iceberg, it wouldn't be much of a story. But then the Titanic begins to sink. And that is the elevated conflict. And that creates urgency. That if we don't resolve this conflict now, something bad is going to happen. This is what most speakers are not doing when they tell stories, is to elevate that conflict. Make them say, Ruben, Sherry, you are not leaving the stage until we resolve this conflict. And that's how you get that world-class storytelling. But there's one more level. And that is, okay, for 85 years, we cared more about the ship than the people on it until the movie came out. And then we heard about the love story between Joaquin and Rosita, Jack and Rose. This is the ship going across Lake Titicaca. The internal conflict. What is the meaning behind it? Why is it important? I'll give you an example of a story for myself. I'll give you the short version, not the guacamole story. But my first job, I don't want to give too much. The whole point of the story is you don't tell too much. But think about this. Is there a more satisfying moment in your day than the minute you get in the car to go home from work? You know it. As soon as that door hits home, it's over. On the day when everything changed, I still remember that moment. When I think about it, I can still feel the breeze in my face as I put that window down. I can still see the sun setting in my rearview mirror. And I can still hear the words of the bank manager where she said to me, Mike, based on your recent work performance, the company has decided to terminate your employment. Oh, terminate? Did I just get fired? I didn't see that one coming, did you? Well, to me, it came as a shock. To her, it was a victory. We never got along. In fact, she's not even the person who hired me. So she might have sounded like a dignified manager when she said, terminate your employment. The look on her face. If you've ever worked for the Grinch, you know that look. That look that says, I finally got you, you bum. Okay, what's the conflict in this story?
You got fired.
I got fired. Uh-oh. Now, I can solve this conflict in a second by getting another job. We need to elevate this conflict. As you can imagine, I had a lot of questions on my mind as I drove home in my brand new Ford Fusion that I had just bought to celebrate getting my first job after graduating from college. What did I do wrong? Where am I going to work now? What's the Blue Book version on this car I just bought? Now that was the real defeat. Not only losing my job, but taking the job to begin with. Caring so much about a car payment, I was willing to give up so many passions in my life. Take the abuse of an overbearing, ungrateful branch manager just for the sake of a steady paycheck. Now the paycheck is gone. You ever feel like you sold your soul and got absolutely nothing for it? Okay, let's stop right there. What is the elevated conflict? What is the urgency there?
Mike, it sounds like you're having an existential crisis. To be honest, you're questioning all your life decisions at this point. It's not just the job.
Yes. That is the internal conflict. That's the third level of conflict. The second level of conflict is I got a car to pay for. If I don't solve this now, it's going to be even worse when I'm walking down Main Street saying, oh, what do I do? So these are the levels of conflict. The initial conflict, I lost my job. Elevated conflict, I've got bills, including 58 more car payments to make. And the internal conflict is I made some bad decisions in my life to get here. I've got to right the ship. Okay, I'll give you the short version of how I solved it. I got a new job. I went to work at a gym. See, I just graduated college. I thought I was too good to go to the gym and work out and be a trainer again. But that gave me a lot of career opportunities. I paid my car off a month in advance, but the real resolution to that conflict is crossing the finish line of the Baltimore Marathon in a football stadium named after the same bank that had fired me 5 years earlier. I took my medal. Thank you. I took my medal. Look at that medal, look at that corporate logo, and I said, I got you back. And I'm nobody's bum. Now, the resolution to that story is the fact that I stepped away from prestige and went into something that was truly me and working in the fitness industry, which is what brought me here at Fit Presenter, teaching, speaking skills to people in the fitness industry. That's expanded to other industries, but that's where I got started. Now, your origin story has the power to make that kind of impact. But the key is this. So we know what story. The conflict's got to be related to the conflict you solve in your business. And the conflict must be elevated. If, like Rosalind said, is an existential crisis, as long as you solve that crisis and it has a happy ending, it's fair game to promote your business, as long as you do not lead your presentation with it. The acronym is AMY, A-M-Y, audience, material, then yourself. What was the first word of my presentation today? You. You started your own business because. Put the focus on them first, then give them value. And then when you've earned it, you get to tell your own story. And the resolution there is now how you resolve. And that creates the urgency for them to say, I need to get on your calendar. I need to buy this thing. I need to follow up with you. That is the sequence. Just enough time. I'm going to very quickly, you know what I'll do? Contact me and I'll send you the slides that reinforce conflict, more conflict, your conflict, etc. But if you have any stories, if you want to practice anything, if we have a little time, we can do that now. But Angela, I get you back.
Thank you so much. That was great. I wish we had more time for some practice, but yeah, Mike, you lead meetings often, right? Or workshops?
Yes, I'll be leading one this Thursday, as a matter of fact. I'll put the registration in the chat one more time.
Perfect. So I recommend that you get signed up for one of those. Thank you so much, Mike.